Okay. Assalamualaikum and good day to Sir Saiful. We are from Group 2 and we will present an informative video of Southeast Asian country that we choose, which is Singapore. So before we start, I will introduce our group member. First is me, my name is Ahmad Fahmi. Second is Muhammad Asfaris. Third is Ahmad Denis Shah. Fourth is Ronald Roni. Fifth is Muhammad Sazrin. And the final member is Muhammad Akmal.
Okay, first we go to the my point, the historical. There are three historical of Singapore. My first point is Singapore in Malaysia. Singapore, the Prime Minister Lee Kuan Yew signed the Malaysia Agreement in London on 9 July 1963. The agreement spelled out for the term of formation of federation consists comprising Malaysia, Sabah, Sarawak, and Singapore itself. Next is we go to the birth of Singapore. The birth of Singapore, they become independent as the Republic Singapore on 9 August 1965 with the Prime Minister Lee Kuan Yew and Yusof bin Ishak as the first Prime Minister and President respectively in 1967. The country co-founded the Association of Southeast Asian nation known as ASEAN. The separation was the result of deep political and economic difference between the ruling political parties of Singapore and Malaysia, which created communal tension that resulted racial riots in July and September on 1964. Last, my point is Singapore has the largest port in Southeast Asia. It is one of the busiest ports in the world. It is because the city was located at the southern tip of the Malaysia Peninsula in about 995 miles to peninsula and approximately 137 kilometers. It consists the island itself. It consists of the diamond shape of Singapore Island and some of 60 small islands. That's all for me. Thank you.
Now moving on to the political system of Singapore. Singapore plus the Unitary Parliamentary Republic. It is a type of government where the parliament holds most of the political power given to them by the voters. There are two leaders in this system, the head of state and the head of government. The head of state, who is often the president, focus on ceremonial duties and symbolize unity, while the head of the government, like Prime Minister, Chancellor or Premier, is in charge of running the country and making decisions. How does it work? In this system, the head of state and the head of government are separate roles. The head of state is most neutral and not involved in daily politics, while the head of government is chosen by the parliament and takes care of things like making laws and managing policies. Now we are moving on to the economy of Singapore. Singapore is a high-income economy. It's famous for being business-friendly and making strong investments like infrastructure, education, healthcare, and public services. Singapore also ranks high in global competitiveness and performs strongly in 2020 World Bank Human Capital Index. After gaining independence in 1965, Singapore moved from being a low-income economy to a high-income economy. Its GDP grew an impressive 7% annually on average, and was even higher with 9.2% 25 years post-independence. And till this day, Singapore uses the Singapore dollar as their main official currency. Now we are moving on to the services of Singapore. Singapore provides services like financial intermediary, which Singapore connects Southeast Asia to the world by trading raw materials like rubber, timber, and spices for finished goods. Singapore also provides services like seaport, where the port of Singapore is one of the world's busiest, connecting over 600 ports in 120 countries. Manufacturing is Singapore's largest economic sector, providing 20 to 25% of its GDP. The country is a hub for electronic manufacturing, focusing on high-value components. Education in Singapore is a high priority, with free primary schooling and multiple academic and vocational tracks. Singapore also has a high-quality healthcare system with many doctors and hospitals. Welfare services like elderly, sick, and for the unemployed are provided by both the government and the voluntary organizations. Singapore also maintains good and strong stable relationship with 189 UN member states, with the exceptions of Central African Republic, Monaco, and South Sudan. Singapore is also the founding member of the Association of Southeast Asian Nations, which is referred to ASEAN. Singapore also focuses on peace, security, and mutual relationships, leveraging its position as a global hub. It has strong ties with neighboring countries like Malaysia, Indonesia, and Thailand, despite some historical challenges. An example of close collaboration with Thailand is economics, defense, and education in tourism. Through the Singapore-Thailand Enhanced Partnership Program, both countries work to certain types of mutual benefits. Singapore is also a major trading partner and investor in Thailand.
Okay, now is my part. My part is social and cultural aspect. As we can see at the slide, first, respecting older people and seeing family as a place to go for support both help maintain care values in the country. For example, in every society, like Singapore or our country, certain values help maintain social stability and cultural continuity. Among these, this respect for older people and the role of family as a key support system stand out as foundational pillars. This value not only promote individual well-being, but also strengthen the collective fabric of society. Second is Singapore, as we know, in the country is a multi-ethnic society where Chinese, Malay, and Indian traditions coexist beneath the veneer of Western cosmopolitan metropolis like our country. So, Singapore is often highlighted as a model of multiculturalism where diverse ethnic groups, Chinese, Malay, Indian, and others, live together harmoniously, contributing the nation's rich cultural capacity. Despite being a modern, cosmopolitan metropolis with strong Western influence, Singapore has managed to preserve and celebrate its traditional ethnic custom, festival, and practice. Okay, the third is having face indicates personal dignity. In Singapore, as we know, the concept of face plays an important role in society interaction, particularly within the context of its multicultural society. As a nation where Chinese, Malay, Indian, and other ethnic communities coexist, traditional values like saving face are significant, especially within the Chinese community, which make up the majority of the population. The idea of face is tied closely to personal dignity, respect, and social reputation, shaping how individuals navigate both personal relationship and personal setting. Okay, last part is silence is an important element of Singapore communication. As we know, in Singapore, a country marked by its multiculturalism and diversity, silence holds a significant place in communication. While directness and openness are valued in some cultures, in Singapore, silence is often employed as a subtle yet powerful tool to manage interaction, convey respect, and preserve social harmony. This nuanced approach to communication reflects the country's deep-rooted cultural values, where indirectness and the avoidance of conflict are seen as essential elements of maintaining personal dignity and group cohesion. Thank you.
As for my part, I will present about the political and security issue in Singapore. The first point is geopolitical tension in the Indo-Pacific, such as United States and China rivalry. This is because Singapore's location at the crossroads of global trade routes puts in a sensitive position as tension between the United States and China intensify. The United States is a key security partner, but Singapore also has strong economic and trade ties with China. The country must carefully navigate this rivalry, avoiding being caught in the middle while maintaining good relations with both powers. Second point is terrorism and radicalization. Singapore faces an ongoing threat from terrorist organizations, particularly Islamic State affiliates in Southeast Asia. The country has faced several security incidents, including the discovery of terrorist cells and individuals plotting attacks. Singapore's strict counter-terrorism measures, including surveillance, preventive detention, and efforts to combat radicalization, but it remains concerned, especially given the proximity of conflict zones in the Middle East and the rise of regional terrorist networks. The third point is internal political and social communities such as aging population and social welfare. Singapore's aging population poses significant political and social challenge. The government faces pressure to balance economic growth with an effective social safety net for elderly citizens. The political leadership has implemented policies to address these issues, but there are ongoing debates about the retirement provision and whether they can maintain the country's social harmony and stability. The last point is regional security concern. This is because, as a member of the Association of Southeast Asian Nations, or ASEAN, Singapore plays an active role in regional security dialogue and cooperation. The security environment in Southeast Asia is shaped by concern about regional terrorism, military build-ups, and unresolved territorial disputes. Singapore has advocated for a rule-based order and strong regional security architecture to manage these threats.
So now for my part, that is economic and social issues in Singapore. One of the economic issues in Singapore, which is income inequality and social mobility. Even though Singapore's economy is doing well, there's a big gap between rich and poor. People in high-paying jobs like finance and tech earn much more than those in lower-paying jobs like retail and food service. This gap can cause social problems and make it harder to the lower-income workers to get ahead. For the second economic issues, that is minimum wage discussions. Singapore has debated minimum wage for years, but hasn't set a nationwide minimum wage. Instead, the country focuses on other ways to manage wages like special labor policies, targeted support for workers, and safety net programs. For the now social issues, that is housing affordability. Singapore has a strong public housing system, but rising property prices, especially for private homes, are making it harder for some younger Singaporeans, especially those from lower and middle income families, to afford their first home. For the second social issues, that is social integration of foreign workers and immigrants. Singapore relies on foreign workers, especially in jobs like construction and domestic work, but this has caused challenges in social integration. While these workers are important to the economy, There are tensions about their living conditions, rights, and how they interact with local communities. Thank you.
So now we reach the end of our video. So for the conclusion, although Singapore often highlighted as one of the most developed country in Asia, this does not eliminate significant issues within its borders. So political, economic, and social challenges still affect various aspects of life in the country. Issues related to the political governance, security, economic inequality, and social cohesion continue to shape the nature of the landscape of the Singapore. So that's all from our group. Thank you.